Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome to part 2 of the Huion GT-220 review. Before we start, as you can tell, I'm no class right now, no shaves, no nothing. I got out of bed today, got the coffee going, and for some reason I noticed there was like 2 or 3 replies to my Huion reviews of people asking like, hey John, it's been, so long now. How is it? How's it going and all that? And I've been getting this for a while since it came out, which makes sense. The first review, and there's very few people talking about it. So I've been wanting to make the response video, and it was supposed to be about, I think the last one I talked about it being 6 months from the first time, maybe 8 months or maybe even a year. But I'm going to talk about blah blah blah. We're going to get into that. I got some cliff notes here that we'll go over. So I don't know how long the video is going to be, but I will start with some cliff notes just so you can, you don't have to watch the whole video if you're not into it. So let's start off with it. I went from this Cintiq 12WX to the Huion GT-220, and now I'm back to the Cintiq. Now, I don't want to make that sound like the Huion is trash, because it's not. I feel that if you've used a Cintiq before, going away from a Cintiq, at least to a Huion, in my experience, is like a step down. And I really wish that wasn't the case. And I think it's just the little things as you're working that you notice. Now, if you've never used a Cintiq before, maybe you're coming from I don't have one with me, but just a generic tablet that you would draw on, not like a Surface Pro or something that you would draw on a screen. If you're coming from that, then it's probably amazing to you, and I'm happy for you, and I would recommend getting it. The price is good. I think it was around $1,000 plus shipping, and it's massive. It's a huge screen, right? And I actually have it hooked up right now as a third monitor. So I'm going to look. See, so for me, I have my Cintiq going, and it's been chugging along for a while. The small little guy, and the only reason I'm hanging on to Huion is that I like to have something in backup and reserve just in case. But even still, I'm most likely going to sell it. So I don't want to turn this into a plug, but if you guys are interested, I don't know if I'll sell it on eBay. You guys private message me. I'm in Ontario, Canada. So if you're interested, let me know. Maybe we can hook something up. But so there's that. And the last thing I'll say in the cliff notes is, again, just to wrap up the last point, if you're coming from a tablet, it's probably a good investment if this is what you're looking for. If you're coming from a Cintiq background, I'd probably just save up if you're looking for just like the size increase, so like the big, the HDs and stuff. I'd probably just save up and do that. If you're coming from like a Unova or something, I don't know. I haven't used those products, so I'm not 100% sure. The last thing I'll say is, if you're doing what I consider I do pretty much 80 to 90% of the time, which is line art, comic book inking or illustration, that's where I'm going to get into the video, kind of talking about that. So I was saying the little nuances or things I noticed about the Cintiq that the Huion was kind of struggling with line jitter and stuff like that. That might not be noticeable, but the more you do it, the more you get the feels of it, right? So if that's primarily what you do, I'd probably just skip it altogether. Painting and things. Okay, so with digital painting, I find you can get away with a lot more, right? You have access to opacity. You can use pressure sensitivity to light to dark, transparent to is it opaque? I always get that one wrong. But basically, you can't see through it. So line art doesn't necessarily matter in digital painting. I find it's mostly for the detail work. Texture work and stuff like that, which is digital, so there's a lot of play with it that way. But with line art, it's not that it has to be precise, but if you don't want a wiggle in your line, you shouldn't have to just have it because the thing you're using does that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're using pencil and paper, when you're drawing, that's this action, wherever you draw from, that line that you're doing, that is what's creating it. The tool you use might have like a little jitter, but you know that going in. The Cintiq, on the other hand, I've never had that problem. There's like a little wiggle at the bottom, I think, with most of these displays and stuff. But anyway, so that's the last cliff note. So to wrap that up, hopefully I've given you some experience with the tool right now, and you can base your decision off that. Now, the next things I will go into are, and these are just notes, hopefully I don't ramble too much, I don't want to make these videos always go so long, is reformatting my computer, which is dangerous. That's scary words right there. They had great customer service. Photoshop jitter, which I sort of talked about, and Manga Studio actually being good with the device, which leads me to think that Photoshop might have driver issues or something. I don't know, but we'll get into that. So first I'll talk about formatting my computer. Okay, so the first time I bought this, installing the drivers and stuff was, I don't know, it was crazy town, right? Like I talked about, I'm pretty sure I talked about it in that my first video. And it did its thing, whatever. But what ended up happening was my computer it got slow, right? It gets slow, and I don't know if any of you guys have reformatted computers, but it's never fun. I'm not a big tech guy. I just don't care. I just want it to work, right? And I knew I had to format my computer for a while, so one thing led to another, and I figured, you know what, let's do it. Let's format it. And the biggest pillar I would say that made me go, I have to do this now, is because the little jitter that I was talking about with the Huion, I had a client project at the time. Horrible time to be experimenting with this stuff is with client work and deadlines. I'll tell you that right now. So I went ahead and I did horrible advice. You know, I don't listen to myself. I just talk. So I did it. I hooked up my Cintiq again, so I get the lines coming up quicker and faster, and the drivers just wouldn't work. And I was losing my cool. I was getting upset. Plugged the Huion back in, and it didn't work, and I lost it. I lost it. I was upset. I was very upset. So in a moment of outrage, I formatted my computer, and that was a horrible experience. It lasted maybe like 2 or 3 days, getting everything back up to speed. And I hooked up my, I actually went back to the Huion, which might sound a little weird, because I figured if there was a problem, in my mind, the problem I was having was because I first had Cintiq or Wacom drivers on my computer, and it was a pain to get rid of it. I had to get rid of some file, I'm not sure why, and I couldn't get that file back, so that led into the formatting. So I figured if it's a brand new, fresh machine, let's try the Huion 100% here. Like, reformatting now sucks, but not as bad as before. So I got the Huion in there. It took a little bit of work, a little bit of finesse. I could not get rid of the jitter. Okay, when you install the software, it comes up with this pop-up window that lets you calibrate like some keys, you know, like the buttons right here on the top. You know, anybody that's used any of these kinds of devices, you know what I'm talking about. So calibrated that, and they have this little pop-up where you can test the pen pressure and stuff. So I was drawing it, and it was smooth, and I was like, thank you, great, it's smooth. But in Photoshop, I was drawing for a while, a few pages, and then I just noticed it. Something was weird, and I zoomed in, and there was this jitter that kept happening, and I couldn't, what the F, man, what is this, what is that? I'd open up Manga Studio, and nothing. I didn't know what the hell was going on, so I reached out to the people at Huion. I believe the lady's name was Shirley. I believe that was her name. Anyway, fantastic customer service. I have nothing bad to say about anything like that. Anyway, so she recommended that I try Lazy Nezumi Pro, I believe it's called. It's just some add-on that you run in the background of drawing programs, and it essentially gets just makes your lines supposed to be nice. Supposed to. That didn't work, right? So I had it. I had about enough. And then I went back to the Cintiq, and right away, like I said before, the first time I did this, I tend to like repeat the same bad things over and over again. But the next time I installed the Cintiq there, the first thing I always notice with this from going with the big stuff is like the screen is such a small, disgusting fraction of the sweetness I had, right? Like, you're coming from like boom, right? Like, how you doing? Just a big thing. Photoshop will just say, or Manga Studio, your UI, I always crunch it over to like the opposite hand I'm working on, so all my windows were like here, right? I had like all of that to draw on. It was awesome. And now I'm down to like that. So anyway, after getting back accustomed to the Wacom, just certain things I noticed were a little off, and I'm going to talk about that too right now. I didn't write that down, but I just wanted to, may as well, right? So this was the default pen that came with the Huion. It feels nice. It's light. You know, it feels. I don't. People say it feels cheap, but that's just because it's light. It doesn't feel like it's got some weight to it, or anything. Like I could throw this around and I'm not sure if it would break. Whatever, right? Like who's doing that? But it's rechargeable, which is okay, whatever. And the nib is weird. Again, this is all coming from a guy using Wacom products. Okay, you can press it in, and I noticed that with like my Cintiq one here, it feels like it doesn't even move. Okay, it just feels, I don't know, like it's made of sturdier stuff. I mean, you're paying for a lot more, right? Than all this stuff. But anyway, so there was this. Never worked. It worked. That's a lie. I think it worked for a couple days and then it stopped. So I plug it in and it didn't work. Reached out to them. They sent me a second one. I have another one over there. Same thing. 2 or 3 days. Didn't work. They ship it with another one. This one's still in the plastic. This one requires you to put batteries in the top and you just click it like a pen and it activates it. It's got the same tip. It has a little bit of grip on here, which I like. I actually preferred this pen anyway. This one worked flawlessly. This one was amazing. So when I asked them again, like when this one didn't work, hey, can you please send me another one of that one because I prefer that one. This one's garbage. It's doing nothing for me. Yeah, no problem. And they sent me that one, which I thought was pretty sweet. Pretty sweet for doing nothing. Right? They just willingly sent it out. Again, that's a nod to the cap of Huion and their customer service. So there's that. The next thing, and some people have told me that this is even on the big Cintiqs, and I'm not sure because I don't only have the small one. So let's say this is your screen and you're drawing, right? With the Cintiq, it feels, to me anyway, like you're right on it. Might be like very slightly off if you're like tilted at an angle, but it feels where you're pointing is where it's at. The Huion, however, always felt like if that's where I'm at, I just want to, because this is for the artsy fartsy stuff. So if this is where it feels like it's at, it always felt like it was like there. Like it wasn't 100% where I wanted it to be all the time. Not that it was like way off crazy town, but it was just that it was. It required learning. That's all it is, right? It's a brand new tool. It's like going from Photoshop to Manga Studio. I hope a lot of you guys know about this pain. Just at first, it's like, why isn't Manga Studio more like Photoshop? Especially all you cats that were using Manga Studio. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things, and it's the same thing with this, with anything. You got to learn it and all that. So there was that. And the last two things I guess we're going to really talk about, unless something else pops up in my head, is the Photoshop jitter, which I briefly talked about, and Manga Studio being great. So I've personally gone back in Photoshop, working for most of my comic book work in Photoshop now. That's might be right now. That nothing that Manga Studio can't do, all that stuff. That'll be another video, I guess, if you guys are interested. I've talked about it in the live streams. But so in Photoshop, I couldn't understand the line jitter. I don't know what it was. I tried the software. I tried downloading 3 different versions of Photoshop. Same problem, but Manga Studio was fine. I even loaded up Manga Studio 4 and it was fine. So I don't know. To me, it sounds like, and I'm again not a tech guy. You guys have to let me know, but it sounds like a driver issue. I tried looking online. People saying the very limited stuff, because the one thing with this is that it's not a Cintiq. And I think when people hear about digital art, if you want to draw digitally, you're either drawing a tablet, which is usually a Wacom product, or you're getting a Cintiq, because those are just, that's all there is. And that's what people tend to go for, because the market is like, just, they own it for the most part, right? So there's a few brave people that'll go outside of what they're supposed to get, and they'll start to grab things like this. And so the resources out there aren't as awesome as they could be, because people don't have it, right? Not as many people have it. So all of that, I remember seeing people saying they have the same issues. Some people, no, not a problem at all. We talk about it, there's no problem. Just weird. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because the Wacom drivers are on there. I'm sure there's going to be people leaving comments below. So in 6 months, if you found this video, check down below. I'm sure there'll be a discussion of hopefully people finding solutions for this stuff. Actually, after I bought this, I think, what is it, like a month ago, Huion just made a brand new one. I think it's this. Might be a little smaller with express keys on the side. Might be into that. I just remember that, so I wanted to talk about that. What else? I mean, again, it depends what you're using Photoshop for. If you're just painting, probably fine. As for Manga Studio, I never had a single problem with it. Anybody that was at the streams, you guys might remember the mouse. It was always like a squeaking, like a squeak, 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 squeak. I got used to it. It wasn't that bad, but it was there. I don't know what that is. It's not like you need WD-40 shot in here or something. I don't know what it was. It just sounds like maybe like a getting rusty spring or something, or you know what I mean? Like a mattress kind of spring. It wasn't that loud, but it's there. Yeah, and Manga Studio, like I said, was great. I didn't really have any problems with it, anything like that. One thing I will wrap up with, or before I wrap up, is all of this, and I probably should have said this at the beginning, so if you're still watching, sorry about that, that I don't have a very fast computer at all. So that might have been a huge reason why I was having problems, okay? I think my computer's like 5-6 years old. It's nothing special. I'm struggling with 300 DPI Photoshop files from time to time. Anyway, so take that for what it's worth. This guy's like a 1080p HDMI. The bells and whistles, right? Cat's ass kind of stuff. So all in all, just to beat a dead horse here, that if you've never used anything like this will probably be great. You won't even notice. Some people have asked questions about like, hey, if I get this, is it professional? Is it industry standard stuff? I would say yeah. I mean, it's just a tool. It's the same thing. The only reason you'd ever get something like this, I'll tell you right now, guys, don't ever buy a Cintiq, a Huion, any tool because you think that's all you need to get good. That's not. You can get perfect client work, professional work, work for the rest of your life just doing pencil and paper. Okay, you can totally do that. The only reason you're getting into this is for other reasons, right? Like maybe speed, maybe other things, artificial. They're not quality, okay? Arguably, some people will learn a tool better on this. Like you might be able to ink better on this because you can undo a bunch of times and stuff. Whereas if you went to ink and paper, you struggle. That's totally different though. The fundamentals are there. The only difference at that point is when you go back to paper is you're learning a new tool because you haven't been using it, okay? That's the same thing here. Just don't buy this stuff because it's expensive and that means you think that you'll get great, or that's the missing puzzle piece. It's not, okay? Again, this is only for people that, I would assume most people start with a tablet and they have that disconnect, right? You're drawing on this is happening up here. It's hard to relate to that. Practice will get you good at that. The only reason I would assume you get something like this is because that connection isn't what you want it to be. So what you hope to get is that I want that one-to-one. I want that feeling that it's on there, so you'll get something like this. If that's the case, grab one. It's totally doable. It's fine. It'll get you exactly what you need. The Photoshop issues might just be me. I've seen people that don't have it. If you're doing illustration, like I've said, I'd be very hesitant, and arguably I would save up money for if you, again, you want the big one. The one thing that's cool is you do get more real estate, so you can see things. You don't have to. I don't want to say you don't have to zoom in and out as much, but you can see more of your composition and stuff without requiring having a separate window on the side zoomed out or something, right? If you're coming from a Cintiq, I'd say don't do it. Don't bother. Stick with your Cintiq. If you want the size increase, save up the cash and go there. So, long-winded way of saying all that. I hope you guys, this helps some of you guys. I will redirect the people that are still sending me messages and stuff. Thank you. I will send you guys to this video as well. And again, I hope this helps in your decision of choosing what you want to get that's best for you and your setup and what it is that you're looking to do. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that about covers it. Maybe I'll make a part 2 down the road if I get some more unique questions about this, but that should do it for you. I don't want to put the fear into you guys because I was able to do production work on it. Just over time I noticed certain things that I remember the Cintiq gave me that this wasn't doing. And I was just like, I wish I could have that. And stuff like that. Oh, one other quick thing. On the screen, we'll say it's this big. I noticed for whatever reason that like if I would draw a straight line, when it ever got to like around, I'm just trying to look for you guys, like around this point here, it would like dip. It would always, it wasn't like a huge thing, but it was, if I did a straight line, it would do that. If I got a ruler and I put a ruler there, it would just do a little like lip. So I had to be conscious of where that was all times, and normally I would draw and I would kind of see it, so I would have to shift my canvas over so that I could still draw in that area without touching that part of of the device. So maybe the device is messed up. I don't know. So I asked for a return. I brought that up. You guys might be interested in that. The return process is actually, you're pretty much shit out of luck. You can't really return it. You have to pay for shipping, and they'll send you another one. No returns or refunds. I've asked for that. The only way you'll get a refund that I always found, hey Justin, was that if I sent it to them and they said, yeah, it is defective, we'll cover the shipping and all that stuff. I don't know. I think the way that it is, they ship it. The shipping's probably crazy for them. So if it's broken, you'll get a new one. Okay? But if you don't like it, you pretty much, that's the big, oh God, do I even pull the trigger and start this? Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. I'm done. I'm done talking about this. I'm assuming most of what I've just said hopefully helps you guys out. And I've got work to do. I've got more videos to make for you guys. It's going to be great. We got some comic book stuff coming up. We're going to do some drawing. Can you imagine that? More drawing, and I haven't done any drawing. Also going to be doing a questions and answers video. There's two kinds I'd like to get going back again. Some of you guys talk about it in the stream. The normal one, the questions and answers, which is a video recording. I'll answer a whole bunch of questions. And the other one's this again. You know, it's fun talking to you guys. And we can get a little more intimate with these one-to-one videos. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I hope this helped you once again. And like usual, you guys, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.